All right, joining me once again here on the Matthew Filipowicz Show is my good buddy Steve Horn. Steve is an investigative journalist whose work has been seen in The Nation, The Guardian, Center for Media and Democracy, Alternet. He is a research fellow at DeSmog Blog, which you can find at desmogblog.com. You can also follow him on Twitter at Steve A. Horn. Steve, thank you so much for being on the show again.
Good to be back. Thanks for having me.
All right, so Steve, buddy, you and I have talked many, many times about how the dirty, horrible tar sands oil that would come from the Keystone XL Pipeline would actually not be for American United States consumption, but actually it would be for export. Democrat Mary Landrieu, who just lost her runoff in the Senate in Louisiana, such a loss, such a horrible loss. I can't believe we're not going to have Mary Landrieu anymore. That type of Democrat you really want in the Senate. She actually said before losing, she said this quote, "Contrary to the ranting of some people that this is for export, Keystone is not for export." That's what she said. She's full of it. You followed the money. Of course it's for export. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, sure. Well, we had a reopening of the debate over tar sands exports with this latest push to get the Keystone XL's northern leg through in Congress. And yeah, as you mentioned, there's a Landrieu comment, but also President Obama weighed in, and he actually said the opposite of her. And he went out and said, well, hey, look, this is a pipeline that's going to go through the United States down to the Gulf and then basically get exported to other countries. And, that really struck a nerve, the President of the United States saying that. And usually when politicians are talking, it usually means they're lying. But in this case, he was actually in this case, he was telling the truth. At least I wouldn't say 100% truth, because it goes both ways. It's not only an export pipeline, but it is by and large going to be an export project when all is said and done, if the industry gets everything that it wants on its checklist. And so, like you said, we have to follow the money. And in recent months, there's been important deal making with the tar sands producers and exporters. And so if you look at what's happening down in the Gulf, there's a company by the name of Oil Tanking. Oil Tanking was actually just bought out by another company called Enterprise Products Partners. And Enterprise Product Partners is actually the first company in decades to get a permit to export oil that's produced in the United States to the global market. There's been a ban on exporting that since the 1970s, which went in place because of the oil crisis and the oil embargo that OPEC had put in place. And so they're the first company to get one of those. And I think that just preliminarily, that should foreshadow that, these Enterprise buys out this company, Oil Tanking, which owns terminals on the Gulf. Enterprise already got a permit to export U.S. produced oil. Why wouldn't the next logical step be, okay, they want to export tar sands? Okay, so that's just that sets up a hypothesis. But then if you look at what Oil Tanking is talking about, they're actually talking about in a lot of their investor statements and articles in the investor press. They have one really important terminal in the Houston Ship Channel, and the Houston Ship Channel is this area that's being talked about right now as a potential place for tar sands exports, especially with Enbridge's pipeline system, but not only Enbridge, Keystone XL too. And so Keystone XL has this thing called the Houston Lateral Pipeline. So part of it goes to Port Arthur. That's what most people talk about when they talk about Keystone XL and going to the Gulf. But actually, another part goes to Houston, and that Houston part actually goes directly to the Houston Ship Channel. And so Oil Tanking has a terminal there, and a lot of analysts are talking about that terminal being a potential place for tar sands or heavy oil exports. And so there's all kinds of examples for Oil Tanking. But then there's another one that I found recently for this other company called MEG Energy. So MEG Energy is this Canadian company, or this company that at least is producing tar sands in Canada. And they signed a contract with Enbridge. And in this, me and you have already talked about Enbridge's Keystone XL clone system. Mm-hmm. And so this system, MEG Energy has a contract with them to send up to with Enbridge to send up to 100,000 barrels per day of oil down to the Gulf. And MEG Energy, in their quarter 3 investor call, openly talked about how they're interested in potentially exporting some of that tar sands to the global market. And coming full circle to the President Obama statement, there's a really important connection between MEG Energy and President Obama, and that's Timothy Geithner. So MEG Energy was actually originally owned by Warburg Pincus, where Secretary of Treasury Timothy Geithner now serves as the president, and they're still the largest private equity owner of MEG Energy. So very likely President Obama knows a lot about the fact that about tar sands exports just via his connection with Timothy Geithner, whose Warburg Pincus, the huge private equity firm, is the largest private equity owner of a company that's interested in exporting tar sands. So that takes us full circle.
Oh my God!
I mean, yeah, and it does prove that there's someone like Mary Landrieu, and it really did strike a nerve. I'll just say, she was not the only one to come out there and say this is not for export. John Hoeven, the Republican from North Dakota, the senator, he made similar remarks, and so President Obama's remarks really struck a nerve, and I think they struck a nerve because they're true.